Welcome, Blue Jackets fans, to another edition of Where Are They Now, presented by Huntington Bank, where we've been catching up all season long with some of the names and faces that have made the first 20 years of Blue Jackets hockey so memorable, and a guy who spent 7 seasons with the Jackets joining us today in Derek MacKenzie. Derek, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always good to catch up with some of these, like I said, some of the familiar names and faces, so many great ones that played for the Blue Jackets over the years. But you're a guy who actually gets to come back here to Columbus in your current role. You see the Panthers shirt that you have on. You're currently an assistant coach with the team. And in fact, as we tape this interview, you're actually in Columbus now for the series that the Panthers and Jackets are about to play. What's it like for you to kind of get the chance to come back? And, you know, obviously with the pandemic, probably don't get to explore the city as much as you would like to. Don't get to spend probably as much time in the arena as you'd like to, but there still have to be some memories given the amount of time you spent here. What's it like just to come back and kind of relive those a little bit?
Well, absolutely. I always enjoy coming back, and I really enjoyed my time here. My son was born here. A lot of great memories, and like you said, even though right now it's a little difficult, still try to get outside and go for a walk, and just take in some of the things that the Columbus downtown city, which has grown and evolved so much since we started. It's been fun to watch the whole process here.
Yeah. You still get to probably see a couple familiar faces around the arena, maybe not as many as you would normally be used to just in a non-pandemic year, but is it cool to kind of come back and at least see some of the Blue Jacket staffers that have been here for a long time when you get the chance to come here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, that was one of the toughest things to leave was some of the friends, that you make with the staff, and they took such good care of me. I mean, they still have, I think, the exact same equipment staff and medical staff, and between Mike Boat and Tim Leroy and the rest of the staff there, I mean, they certainly treated you like a pro, and that's all you can ask, and I miss those guys for sure.
So I'd have to imagine a lot of good memories here for you here in Columbus. It was a place you became an NHL regular. You kind of kicked around at the start of your career. 2001, 2002 was actually your NHL debut, but until that 10-11 season when you were 29 years old was really the first year you became an NHL regular. What was that kind of journey like, and what are the things you maybe learned along the way that would help you out in your career as you went through all that?
Well, I think early in my career, I wasn't ready, probably wasn't good enough. And I was also, had an opportunity with the Chicago Wolves that, in that era where every year you had a chance to win in the minors. So I was fortunate there to win a championship, lose another one in the finals. You always felt like you had a chance to win. I think that was the best place I could have been if it wasn't for the NHL. And then, I think, as I got a little bit older, felt like, I'd still like another opportunity. And if it wasn't going to be there, I should maybe try my luck one more time. And, I made the decision to sign with Columbus. I didn't know at the time, but they ended up hiring Scott Arneal, who, we had some great battles in the minor leagues when he was in Manitoba. And they had, guys like Danny Heinout to the staff, who was, really important for me in my role, in my career. And, the team started to have a little success and things kind of just fell into place. But, I still say to this day, if it wasn't for Arnie kind of sticking his neck out and giving me an opportunity along with Scott Housen, who was there at the time, my career might have been vastly different.
Yeah. Did some of those ups and downs and kind of that journey that you had to go through, how does that help you now as an NHL coach and maybe relate to different guys who are kind of going through some of the same things that you went through?
Yeah. You try to pull from it once in a while. I can, certainly see or appreciate and feel for some of these guys who, go to the minors. And I think there's times when, they feel like, they're a little frustrated or don't know what to do. And I can easily relate with that. Listen, it made me appreciate just how good and how many players there are. I mean, the AHL is a fantastic league, and, you can be playing 100 games in the NHL and go down there and still have your work cut out. And I think it's important for these young guys. I mean, hey, listen, there's an elite group of players that, don't ever play in that league and are fortunate enough to step in. But for the rest of us, I think, spending some time down there, learning the game, getting stronger, understanding how to be a pro is a real important part to, development of a lot of these young guys.
Yeah, so true. And you lived it and ended up here in Columbus. As I said, 7 seasons here with the Blue Jackets. You really went through some of the highs and lows as far as the on-ice stuff. Kind of in the organization for that first playoff run in 2008, 2009. Played for the team during the playoff run of 13-14. Obviously, there was some ups and downs in between those two things. But just what was it like to kind of be here in Columbus and kind of see it from all the different perspectives and, be a part of some great successes here with the Blue Jackets?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're in the fight, you always feel like you're headed in the right direction. And certainly, some things changed and coaching staffs changed, over the course of my time there. But, I think one thing that was always constant was, the passion in the city, ownership that, wanted to win, management that you knew wanted to win. I mean, the pressure was on as players. I think there was years we had teams that, probably underperformed. And there was, years where I remember sitting in the locker room at, 10 o'clock at night waiting for a game to end because we're 1 point out of the playoffs, or if a team wins, we get in. I mean, we were on the cusp of doing something and changing things for the better. And, it just took some time. And I think, as I was leaving, they brought in some great pieces that was going to help change the culture and be a constant for their team. And, that's guys like Nick Foligno, who I think's done a fantastic job now.
Yeah. And as you look at that 2013-14 season, obviously a lot of great memories for Blue Jackets fans. People certainly remember the Nick Foligno goal and the Matt Calvert goal and things like that. What was it like to be kind of, part of a really good first playoff run for that Blue Jackets team, where they got to taste some success, got to win some games, and the city was certainly behind you in those times as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was an exciting time and a little frustrating as well. I remember back to that series where there was games, and I think game 1 we had like a 3-0 lead. I felt like throughout that whole series, and no disrespect to that team and Sydney and those guys, but I just felt like we outplayed them in a lot of ways. We were more physical. I felt like we outchanced them a lot of nights. I mean, that was a team that was, a little more groomed, a little more experienced, and they found ways to come out ahead in that series. But for sure, highlight, at home, remembering Nick Foligno scoring that goal on Fleury and kind of that knee down celebration in overtime. I mean, happy for him and an exciting time for the city and the organization.
Yeah. You mentioned Scott Arniel earlier there. From the player perspective, I guess, you got to see a lot of guys come and go. There's some guys that kind of stand out as far as memories or stories or things like that. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys you still get to see around the league as well. You probably came across during your time in Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, the list is long, and I remember back to my first training camp with Jody Shelley, and I remember being on his line for most of camp and thinking, hey, this is a guy I would love to play with, and loved his excitement and loved what he brought. And he wasn't just a guy that obviously could handle heavyweights in the league and was one of the toughest, but he played the game, he understood it, he wanted to work, and so something as simple as that. Now I get to see Jody all the time. I mean, again, I touched on it with Scotty and even Todd Richards and some of these guys who are still in the league now. Great catching up with them. Todd now in Nashville, and Arnie, I believe is still in Washington. So, don't get to see him as much, but always nice to catch up and remind him how he helped me out. And then, Danny Heinold, another guy, like I say, really now especially draw on some of the experiences I had with Danny. I mean, he was a young assistant coach at the time, and I thought he was great for our locker room and being able to relate and kind of simplify some nights what needed to do. And then, the last piece of that puzzle was obviously Nick Foligno. I still remember when we made that trade with Mark Mathot, and, me and Nick being from the same hometown, got together that night. And I think Nick was, hey, it's not easy being traded, and was a little uncertain and didn't know a lot about Columbus. And I think by the end of dinner, he knew what he was getting into and was excited, and, the rest is kind of history. And, you think back on it, and, his dad and my dad grew up in the same street, and we're from the same small town. And I mean, the odds of ever getting a chance to play together are probably slim to none. So certainly enjoyed and tried to take advantage of, that situation. And then now again, you look at your team, and you got, Jared Bowl, another guy, I'd like to know how many games I played with him, but I think it was a lot. And he was another guy that was great. I mean, looked after me a lot of nights. We're on the same page, another guy who could play and was one of the toughest in the league. And, I look back to those days where might have been, someone like me and Bowler and Matt Calvert or Mark Letestu, and, just enjoyed, my time and appreciated them, and really, missed them when I moved on. To have a line like that, made it easy every night.
Yeah, so many great names there you mentioned, but I've been joking with some of the guys. I should just call this Jody Shelley story time, because everyone always brings up Jody when I ask him about guys they played with in Columbus. But he's got a lot of friends around the league, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're a great guy, when you're an honest guy, when, kind of wear your heart on your sleeve. I mean, he was a guy that was impossible not to like. He was infectious. I was, a young guy with a very small resume at the time. There was no reason for him to want to be excited, to play with me or help me kind of along the way. But that's just the guy he was. And, still to this day, I call him for advice, and Blue Jackets are certainly lucky to have him.
Yeah. And one last thing I wanted to ask about Columbus is just kind of the relationship you guys were able to form with the fans. I mean, there were some lean years when you were here, but they kind of stuck with you thick and thin. Just what was it like to kind of get to know the fan base here in Columbus and have that support over your time here with the Blue Jackets?
Well, I mean, one thing with the Columbus fans is they're hockey fans, and they're smart and they're educated. And listen, there were some times when they were right. They were frustrated, and we could have been, better, or we should have been further along than we were at some points in seasons. And I don't blame them for a lot of that. But the point is like I said, they're educated. They knew when we worked and we did things right, and they felt momentum as things got going, and they were right there making that arena as electric as any other along the way. So I look back on it. I met some friends outside of hockey here in the city that I still can, I still stay in touch with, and remember delivering tickets to some of the businesses. I mean, I loved Columbus because I'm from a small town. In a lot of ways, this feels like a small town. And I love the people in this city, and like I said before, talking to my wife, this is a place we miss, and maybe one day we'll have a chance to come back to.
Yeah, always great to see the alums around for sure. And I also wanted to ask about your time in Florida, because obviously, being an assistant coach there now, it was the place you end up going after you leave Columbus and became actually an NHL captain there, which I'd have to imagine was a great honor. What was that like for you as a guy who had kind of stuck it out, had kind of seen a lot in hockey, and then be able to lead a team with that, put the letter on your sweater as the days went by?
Yeah, certainly don't regret my decision. I mean, it came down to the wire with Columbus, and I completely understand that's hockey. It's a business, and things didn't work out, and Jarmo and John Davidson and Billy Zito were, I've kept in touch and were great throughout that whole thing. And I remember JD saying something right at the end, like, hey, it didn't work out today, but it doesn't mean that you can't be back in some fashion down the road. And that was just the kind of people they were, and made it all that more hard to leave. But switching gears and getting to Florida with Dale Talon, and he made some real good moves that year to bring in some teams, and Gerard Gallant becomes the coach, and things start to fall into place, and things get pretty exciting there pretty quick too. And again, I think I had a couple options of where to go, but I think getting back to one of your questions about what I learned my time in Columbus is it was a team that was rebuilding. I felt like I might be able to help a little bit with that formula. And the success, and getting our young guys who are super talented kind of on the same page, and with help from like Willie Mitchell and Sean Thornton and Roberto Luongo, who's obviously still involved with our team now. We were able to kind of make strides there, and I think again, it's been a process that might have taken a little longer as a player, but some exciting times there. And now 7 years later, it's funny, my kids, my daughter love Columbus. My son, obviously born there, have some special memories of him putting skates on for the first time in Columbus, and then now for them, now the majority of their life spent in Florida and being Panthers fans. So can't complain. Super fortunate for all the opportunities that I've gotten to this point, and hopefully I can continue helping this organization in a pretty exciting season for us.
Yeah, they maybe were able to trade the skates for the beach a little bit. Obviously, Florida, probably not a bad place to be in the winter, but just besides that, getting the chance to become an assistant coach, pretty much right after your playing career ended. Quick transition for you, but just has it been something that you found that you've enjoyed? And obviously with a team right now that's having some success, it's got to be kind of fun to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, I gotta say that a guy like Bob Bugner was pretty instrumental. I remember the season before, I got hurt game one, and found out probably that that was going to be it for my career, and didn't want to and sit around and not be a part of something. And Bob was great, Dale Talon was great, Matt Caldwell, and our ownership, Vinny was great, and said, hey, if Matt can stay involved, let's give him something to do. And it gave me that experience that in going into that summer, kind of unfortunately Bob gets let go, but then Joel gets hired and hires another Sudbury guy, another great friend of mine, and I have a little bit of experience, and things kind of fall into place, and I get an opportunity to now work with an outstanding and obviously one of the most successful coaches in the world. So I kind of pinch myself once in a while. Can't believe that, just a couple years ago with a lot of the guys I'm coaching now was playing and sitting there, but what better place to be than standing next to him right behind these guys again.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll say it's great to see you on the bench. It's also great to see you back here in Columbus. Always great to catch up. Derek MacKenzie, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, and thank you fans for watching. This has been another edition of Where Are They Now, presented by Huntington Bank.